Imagine waking up, peeking out your kitchen window, and, realizing the pretty little neighborhood across the road is sitting right on your family's land. You'll laugh. What would you do if 96 shiny new homes popped up, where your dad taught you to chase fireflies and your mama taught you to stand your ground? My name's Marjorie Whitaker. I'm 62, retired from wrangling school budgets and, teenagers, in a small county outside Macon, Georgia, and for as long as I can remember, our land, nearly 40 acres of thick pines, stubborn red clay, and a creek that turns to silver at dusk, has been the one thing my folks told me never to lose. They said, "Baby, they can print more money, but they can't print more land." So I didn't play fast and loose with it. Every spring, I walked the fence line with my cousin Thomas, thermos of sweet tea in one hand and a pocket notebook in the other. Taxes, paid on time every single year down to the last penny. Paperwork, in a fireproof safe. Title, checked and rechecked with my friend, Attorney Samuel Drake. Because I'm not, about to get cute about the one thing my parents sweated to keep. That's why, the day I saw the bulldozers, my first thought wasn't panic. It was, prove it. Prove what you're doing belongs to you. At first, I figured it was county work. New culvert. Maybe utilities. A week later, survey flags like a rainbow rash across my pasture. 2 weeks, concrete trucks. By the time it hit a month, roof trusses were craning into place, and a banner out front said Lakewood Meadows Phase 2. Homes from the low 300s. There was a map with little dots, lots. They called them curled right over my creek like it was theirs to sell. "Excuse me," I said to a guy in a neon vest. Voice steady as wet cement. "Whose project is this?" "Lakewood Meadows, HOA," he said, barely glancing up. "Gonna be real nice. 90-something homes." He said it like he was commenting on the weather. Meanwhile, I was looking at the ground where Daddy taught me how to bait a hook. The neighborhood already had a Phase 1. A tidy grid of houses with perfect sod and mailboxes that matched like soldiers. Their board president, their queen bee, was a woman named Karen Myers. Short blonde bob, sharp blazer, tennis visor parked above eyebrows that never seemed to come down. She had a way of talking that made rules sound like fashion. Aesthetics, she'd say, dragging the word like ribbon. Standards. And right then, without so much as a phone call, Karen decided my family's land was her expansion pack. Let me tell you how I roll. I don't shout first. I don't chain myself to oak trees, although Lord knows I thought about it for, a minute. I document. I parked on the public shoulder and filmed. Lot 12, framing complete. Lot 14, roof decking on. Siding. Windows. Driveways. I panned slow. Narrated dates. Snapped copies of listing flyers. I kept a neat binder. Labeled in black Sharpie, Evidence Lakewood Meadows. At church, when folks asked if I was selling to the neighborhood, I said, "No, ma'am." When they raised a brow and said, "Then, what are they doing out there?" I laid my yellow deeds on the fellowship hall table and let the paper do the preaching. Samuel came over most evenings. The two of us at my dining room table with peach tea and a highlighter army. "You understand," he said, tapping the edge of my deed chain. "If this goes to court, they'll try to paint you as the villain, the heartless woman kicking families out. I've been called worse. Sugar, I said. If I wanted to kick families out, I'd have become a principal. He smirked. Then we stick to the plan, stay calm, stay thorough, stay early. So we filed a cease and desist. We served the HOA and the builder with copies of my deed, tax receipts, plats. And because I'm, borderline obsessive, the quiet title order Samuel had smartly filed years back as a belt and suspenders move, tight as a mason jar. A week later, a glossy trifold from Lakewood Meadows showed up in my mailbox. Phase 2, Pocket Park, Pool, and Community Pride. HOA, led by President Karen Myers. There was a map, my map printed, like a placemat under a picture of children with perfect knees, eating popsicles. It would have been funny if it hadn't been my inheritance. Word spread. A neighbor in the Piggly Wiggly lot said, "Girl, did you hear? Karen and them were given the land. Given, like I was handing out sampler platters." "No," I said, gentle but firm. "They are building where they don't own, and I'm not about to let them move my fence with brochures." Some folks didn't believe me. They can't build without permission. They said, "Not these days." Bless their hearts. Money makes people confident, and confidence makes people sloppy. And sloppy is where people like me live and win. For the folks moving in, Lakewood Meadows felt like a dream wrapped in vinyl and granite. Victor and Angela Ramirez bought near the front. He works HVAC. She's a nurse's aide who can make a casserole, feed an army. "This is where we'll do Thanksgiving," Angela said, stroking the countertop like prayer. Down the street, Tyler and Lauren Briggs, young and hopeful, painted a nursery, a soft robin's, egg blue. Out near the cul-de-sac, Darnell and Monica Price, he retired from the Postal Service. She from a clinic said, "We're finally gonna rest." I don't begrudge anybody a dream. But a dream built on sand, it'll sink. And it'll take you with it. At the HOA clubhouse, Karen held court. With Phase 2, she told a room of homeowners, "Our property values will soar. We're setting the standard for, like, the whole county." Folks clapped. She smiled. "Yes. There is a claim by a woman outside the community. But our counsel assures me it's baseless. She's looking for a payday." That woman outside was me 1 mile from her gate. I'd be lying if I said the whispers didn't sting. After church one Sunday, a deacon pulled me aside. "Marjorie, don't you think it's kinder to take a payout? Let folks be." Like I was a toll booth. Not a person. I let him talk. Then I said, "Kindness without truth ain't kindness. It's a lie in a dress." Meanwhile, Karen doubled down. She told a local paper, "Progress always upsets someone. Lakewood Meadows is progress." She spoke like she'd trademarked the word. When a junior project manager at the builder pointed at the county plat and said, "There's still a Whitaker on parcel 1467. Karen waved her manicured hand. "Clerical debris. We'll clean it up." Clean it up. A phrase for spills and PR. Not for deeds older than your tennis club. Samuel mailed the suit. We alleged trespass, conversion, unlawful enrichment, the legal choir. We attached everything, tax receipts from decades, my folks' probate records, the title confirmation. Once they see the record, Samuel said. They'll either turn white as a sheet or try to spin. Karen spun. She called me combative on the 6 o'clock news. Said I refused to cooperate. I mean, cooperate with theft. That's a new one. I didn't get mean. I didn't throw shade. I sipped my tea and said into the camera, this land was paid for by calluses and faith. It's not a bargaining chip. The phones in the HOA office started to ring with a different tone. Not the when's trash day chirp. The why is my mortgage flag growl. Banks got skittish. Listings cooled. A few homeowners got letters from my lawyer polite. Factual notices that a case could affect title. Panic flickered behind nice curtains. Are we squatting in our own house? Angela whispered to Victor at midnight. We bought in good faith, he said, jaw tight. But good faith don't move boundary lines. Courtrooms are funny places. They smell like wood, polish, and old air. And they make full-grown people act like children, some pouting, some praying. The day my case was called, the benches were packed. Realtors squeezed in beside county clerks. Homeowners clutched manila folders like talismans. Cameras gathered outside. Because scandal is sugar for the evening news. I wore my mama's gray suit. I'm not superstitious. But sorry, some clothes carry strength. Samuel stacked our binder neat as a hymn book. The judge, Honorably Patricia Long, took the bench with a face that said she'd seen every kind of foolishness and didn't plan to see more today. Whitaker versus Lakewood, Meadows Homeowners Association, and Hanover Construction. She read, Counsel, proceed. Samuel went first. I love him for how simple he makes hard things. Your Honor, he said. This is not complicated. Miss Whitaker's family bought this land. They paid taxes every single year. The title was affirmed. The defendants did not verify ownership before building. They placed nearly 100 houses on land they do not own. That's not progress. That's trespass with landscaping. Karen's counsel rose like a flag. Smooth suit. Smoother voice. Your Honor. To grant Miss Whitaker absolute relief would displace hard-working families. She seeks a windfall. Windfall, I whispered to Samuel. Like my daddy saved pennies so I could hit the jackpot someday. He squeezed my hand. Let him say it. We'll bury it with receipts. Witnesses marched through. The county tax clerk, Miss Whitaker, is current every year. The surveyor, the platted lines of Phase 2 cross directly into Parcel 1467. The title expert quiet title order in Miss Whitaker's favor on record. Each answer was a nail. Clean and true. Then it was my turn. My throat wanted to close. But I made it behave. My folks didn't have much. I told the judge. But they had enough to buy this dirt and ask me to guard it. I didn't invite those houses. I didn't paste a flyer on a pole and say come build here. I filed and paid and prayed. If holding on to what's yours makes you the villain, then I suppose I'm wearing black today. But I sleep fine at night. Across the aisle, Karen stiffened. When she took the stand, the paint started to peel. Samuel asked, Miss Myers, before Phase 2 began, did you personally verify the ownership of Parcel 1467? I relied on professionals, she said. Smile tight. That's not an answer, he replied. Mild as rain. Did you verify? We had information indicating So no, he said. Her cheeks flushed. She glanced at the gallery like maybe applause would rescue her. In recess, homeowners crowded the hall. Some glared at me like I'd keyed their cars. Others whispered, "I'm sorry. We didn't know." Angela touched my elbow. "Miss Whitaker, I don't blame you. I blame the people who sold us a dream on someone else's land." I nodded. "Bless you for saying it out loud." While court churned, life in Lakewood didn't stop. It just went sideways. The HOA meetings turned from cupcake socials to open mic meltdowns. "You said there was nothing to worry about," someone snapped. Karen lifted her chin. "Our attorneys are handling it." "Your attorneys," Darnell barked. "Lady, it's our mortgages." Lauren, 7 months along and exhausted, stood and put a hand on her belly. "We just wanted a safe place for our baby. We followed the rules. All of them. Why didn't you?" Silence fell like a heavy curtain. Outside the clubhouse, a real estate agent quietly took down a for sale sign. Banks began stamping new loans with conditions. One lender told Victor, "We need clear title." He replied, "Don't we all?" At home, I started getting letters slid under my door. "You're ruining families. God is watching what you do. Drop the case. Fear talks ugly." I kept the letters. 2 dates. Envelopes. Copies. I wasn't gonna flinch. Samuel said, "They're not really about you. They're about the people they trusted." The local news kept sticking microphones in faces. Karen, framed by the clubhouse pool, said, "We offered Miss Whitaker compensation." I closed my eyes and sighed. That was a pretty lie in a pretty package. They didn't offer me a nickel. I told the reporter when she asked. Not one. A pastor friend invited me to a community forum at a church fellowship hall. I went. Folding chairs. Bad coffee. Tight shoulders. I stood and said, "I don't hate you. I don't want to see you suffer. But this land was bought fair and held honest. If I lay it down because someone else wants it, then I've broken a promise I made to 2 people who worked themselves raw. I won't do that. Not for a smile. Not for a threat." A few people clapped. Hesitant. A few scowled. Arms crossed like shields. But the truth was in the room. And truth has a sound you can't unhear. Behind the scenes, the builder's lawyers started talking settlement with Samuel. Big numbers danced on conference room paper. I listened, then shook my head. "Money is math," I said. "What they did is moral. We'll talk. But not to erase what happened. They need to feel the weight." Samuel nodded. "We'll write terms so the families aren't crushed. But the lesson is, 2. He meant accountability with mercy, which is harder than revenge and better besides. Verdict day came with the sky pale and heat rising off the courthouse steps. The benches filled early neighbors, bankers, reporters, people who just like a show. Karen sat with 2 attorneys and the kind of tight smile folks practice in the mirror. I sat with Samuel and my mama's suit jacket settling on my shoulders like a hand. Judge Long read for a long minute. Lawyers learn to hear how a voice leans. The judge's voice leaned my way. "After reviewing the evidence," she said, "this court finds that Miss Whitaker has maintained continuous, documented ownership of the disputed parcel. Taxes paid annually. Title affirmed by order on record. The construction of Lakewood Meadows Phase 2 was undertaken without her consent. A ripple moved through the gallery, some sobs, some curses under breath. The court recognizes Miss Whitaker as the rightful owner of the property on which these homes were constructed. The judge finished. The matter of remedies, damages, potential easements, any structured occupancy will proceed to further hearings. No immediate displacement order will issue today. I exhaled. Not joy so much as relief, so deep it felt like a nap after a storm. Outside. Microphones. Miss Whitaker. How do you feel about families being caught in the middle? A reporter asked. I hate that they were dragged into it. I said, but I didn't drag them. The HOA and the builder did. If I'd rolled over because it's messy, then mess would be the law. Someone asked Karen for comment. She pushed past. Said, this is far from over. But her eyes had that faraway look people get when denial runs out of gas. That evening, the HOA board called an emergency meeting. It ended with Karen sliding her resignation letter across a folding table while homeowners demanded answers she didn't have. She walked out under fluorescent hum to a chorus of disappointment. Pride leaves a room quiet and quick. The next morning, the builder sent a different crew. Negotiators. They came with legal pads and coffee. No swagger. We want to make this right. Their lead said. Good. Samuel replied. Right begins with admitting wrong. What does making it right even look like when 96 families tuck kids into beds on dirt they don't legally own? It's not a math problem you solve with a pretty bow. It's a tangle you undo one tight knot at a time. First, not truth, in writing. The builder stipulated on the record that they had failed to verify title before construction. The HOA, through new leadership, stipulated that they relied on assumptions, not documents. No sugarcoating. No misunderstandings. Real words. Second knot, money with meaning. Damages for trespass and conversion, payable to me structured. Not hush lumped. Contributions from the builder and the HOA into a fund earmarked for homeowners trapped by the mess. Fee reductions. Closing cost help if folks chose to relocate. Not a perfect fix, ain't no such thing, but relief that wasn't just a press release. Third knot, future safety. A recorded ground lease and easement structure. Drafted carefully like, carefully, so families could remain without me surrendering title. A buyback option at fair market value if the fund reached certain thresholds. Fences and facts made neighbors at last. I signed nothing until every comma behaved. I'm not mean, I'm meticulous. Mercy without guardrails turns into a second mistake. I told Samuel. He said, Amen. During those weeks, I walked the creek most evenings, listening to cicadas warm their engines. Thomas came by with a bag of boiled peanuts. You did it, he said, voice thick. You honored Aunt Loretta and Uncle Ben. I smiled. We did it slow. That's the only way the good stuff holds. A few homeowners still couldn't look at me without heat in their eyes. I get it. Grief looks for a target. But some brought pound cakes and apologies. Angela stood on my porch with a tin of cornbread and said, I didn't do right by you at first. I was scared. I hugged her. Fear makes us all clumsy. Baby, you said truth when it mattered. As the settlement machinery clicked and the fund began paying out, The mood in Lakewood shifted from panic to well-breathing. People mowed again. Kids chased each other on bikes. A mural went up on the clubhouse wall, a big sweet gum tree with roots drawn like braids. They added a brass plaque. This community learned the hard way, check the deed. I laughed when I saw it. Then I cried a little, too. Tears are funny like that. Here's what I learned. And, maybe it's worth something to you. One, people with clipboards and confidence can be wrong. Loud wrong. Don't confuse a visor and a spreadsheet with authority. Ask for the document. Read the line. If someone says we'll clean it up later, they mean we'll make you clean it up. 2. Mercy ain't weakness, it's strategy. I could have chased a scorched earth victory. I would have lost. Even if I won. You don't rebuild a town by salting it. You rebuild it by telling the truth, insisting on consequences, and making a table long enough for former enemies to sit and sign. 3. Don't let fear put your signature where it doesn't belong. Not on hush papers. Not on threats. Not on the lie that rolling over makes you kind. That's not kindness. That's surrender with lipstick. And 4. Keep your receipts. Literally and spiritually. Pay what's yours to pay. File what's yours to file. Walk your fence line. Teach your kids where the corners are. If somebody moves your marker in the night, don't scream first. Document. Then speak. Karen. She moved to a town an hour over, and I hear joined another board. I wish her humility more than anything. She built her house on the word aesthetics, and it crumbled the first time ethics showed up in the mirror. There's people who still roll their eyes when they hear her name. I pray they also check their deeds. As for me, I still live in my little ranch and tend my roses. Some evenings, when the light turns honey and the creek goes quiet, I sit on the steps and listen to the neighborhood. Yes, those same rooftops go soft. A dog barks. A screen door thunks. Somebody laughs 3 houses down. The sound carries across the line like it always did. Do I wish it hadn't gone this way? Sure. But I'm proud I stayed steady. I'm proud for my folks. I'm proud the law still means something when you bring it receipts and resolve. So, what would you do if your HOA built first and asked questions? Never. Would you fight? Would you fold? Drop your thoughts in the comments. 'Cause I'm curious, has a HOA ever done you like this? Or, sorry, tried to.